everyone, how's it going? My name is Ernie. Thanks for clicking on this video. It's going to be all about great releases in June of 2017. Hope you find something you like. Here we go. So the first album I have for you is by Marika Hackman, and it's called I'm Not Your Man. It's a sophomore release by the London-based artist, and it was released June 2nd on Sub Pop Records. Musically, the record is a mashup of folk, grunge, lo-fi, power pop, and a good amount of originality. What results is a slightly familiar sound that, when coupled with Hackman's vocals, results in an amazing hour of music. And if you listen for it, you'll hear a tongue-in-cheek type humor seep through her lyrics. But don't let that distract you. Many of the topics being sung about are very meaningful. And a great example of this would be the song Boyfriend, where she sings about a man losing his girlfriend to another woman because he doesn't imagine her as a threat. Because, quote, a woman needs a man to make her scream. And that's actually the song I'd recommend for you. It kicks off the album. It's a great start, so make sure to give that a listen. It's called Boyfriend. Next, we have an album called A Place I'll Always Go by the band Palehound. It was out June 16th via Polyvinyl Records, and it's the sophomore release by the band from Boston. The sound found on this album is great fuzzy rock with lo-fi vocals that have an interesting way of sounding whispered and sung out loud at the same time. And I know that sounds like a weird description, but if you listen to this record, you'll know exactly what I'm saying. And the lyrics on this LP follow a theme of experiencing pain and loss, and the process of finding a way to come back from those losses. The album draws from lead singer, guitarist, and songwriter Ellen Kempner's personal experience with losing her grandmother and her close friend in 2015 and then 16. Kempner says of this record, "A lot of it is about loss and learning how to let yourself evolve past the pain and the weird guilt that comes along with grief. It's an honest look into the grieving process and makes for an emotional listen. If that's what you're looking for in a record, definitely give A Place I'll Always Go a listen. I'd suggest starting with the track Feeling Fruit." Next, we have the self-titled release by the band Smidley. It was out June 2nd on Triple Crown Records, and it's the solo debut by Connor Murphy, the usual frontman of the band Foxing. And a quick interesting fact, the name for the project and this album comes from Murphy's beloved dog. He was a black lab mix that unfortunately passed away, and Murphy has said that he loved this dog more than he's ever loved any person. A sentiment that I'm sure a lot of us dog lovers can definitely relate with. So this project and record are a great way to honor his memory. It is 10 tracks, mixing many elements of different rock genres that give the album a unique and dynamic sound. Listening to this record, you get swings between heavy, distorted guitar and strained, belted-out vocals to minimalist instrumentals and hushed, sweetly harmonized vocals, sometimes all within the confines of one song. It's a great listen whether you've been a fan of Murphy's work since Foxing or you're brand new to the musician. I'd suggest a great place to start is with the song Pink Gallow. Next, we have the band Steelism and their record Ism. It was out June 23rd through the label Cooking Vinyl, and it's the sophomore release from the Nashville duo. This record expands on the sound the band achieved on their debut 6:15 to fame with the addition of vocals. And despite that, the album still is very much an instrumental record, with vocals only appearing on 3 out of the 10 tracks on the LP. The music is a blend of country, psychedelia, prog rock, jazz, and so much more. If you want an album with a unique sound that's chock full of guitar, both steel pedal and electric, you'll want to listen to this record. It's going to be different than most of the things that I've recommended, so go into it with an open mind. And if you're looking for something different, this is right up your alley. I say a great place to start is with the first track on the record. It's called Re-Member. So next we have the record Crack Up by the band Fleet Foxes. It's a third studio album by the Seattle-based band, and it was released June 16th, 2017. It's their first LP in 6 years, and their first on the label None Such Records. They released their first 2 albums under Sub Pop. If you've been a fan of Fleet Fox's earlier work, you're going to love this record. Despite their songwriting growing more complex, the album holds on to the core sounds that the band has established on their previous albums and EPs. Through 11 tracks, the band delivers a mixture of acoustic instruments, with some electronic instruments popping up sparingly, elegant string arrangements, and of course this wouldn't be a Fleet Foxes album without perfectly executed vocal harmonies. If you're looking for a great folk album that strays from cliches and isn't afraid to stretch its artistic muscles, Crack Up is the album for you. And if you're not looking for that, give it a listen anyways. You may like it. I would suggest the song, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Naiads Cassidy's. So the next band I have is called Agent BLA with an umlaut above it, which translated into English is Agent Blue, which happens to be the name of the record. It was released June 9th through Canine and Luxury Records, and it's the debut album by the Swedish band. And it's a really interesting one. Imagine the lo-fi shoegaze sound prominent in today's indie music, and add an element of heaviness to it. Not a lot, but enough to make it distinctively different. That's what Agent Blue have managed to do. Some of the heaviness comes from the urgency and weight in the way the song is written, but a lot comes from the vocal performance. The band appropriately refers to their blending of genres as death pop, and it's a great starting point for such a young band, with some of its members still being teenagers. I'm excited to see where they go from here, and if I could only recommend one track off of the LP, it would be Don't Talk to Strangers. Next we have the band Steelism, who released their album Indifferent on June 7th, and it's the third album by the New York Rockers. Steelism has evolved from a 2011 solo project started by frontman Dylan Nowick, and it's undergone multiple lineup changes to reach its current 5-member state. Despite the addition of the 4 other members, Indifferent was primarily written by Nowick. He wrote the songs alone, but always gives credit to the rest of his band for stepping in and helping in different ways. Mixing, mastering, artwork for the album and subsequent tour, and even artist and social media management were some ways the remaining band members contributed to the success of the album. The sound you'll find on here is a blend of dreamy, alternative, and psychedelic rock. The music, combined with Nowick's slightly filtered vocals, make this album a pleasurable listen. If I could only recommend one track to listen to, it'd be the title track, Indifferent World. Next we're moving on to one of my favorite bands of the past few years, Big Thief, with their album, Capacity. It was released June 9th through Saddle Creek Records, and it's the New Yorkers' follow-up to their amazing debut album, Masterpiece. The band takes a sound they established on that first record and just runs with it. You won't find any left turns or out-of-character experimentation on the 11 tracks on Capacity, but it's because they would be 100% unnecessary. The band's blend of folk, blues, country, and rock and roll, mixed with the instantly recognizable voice of frontwoman Adrienne Lenker, has created a unique sound that Big Thief has perfected on this album. Waiting less than a year in between releases, the band has shown no signs of slowing down, and honestly, I for one would wholeheartedly welcome a third album in 2018. I highly recommend this record, but if you could only listen to one track off of it, as hard as it is to pick, I would suggest Haley. Next we move on to Canadian rockers Mise, who released their second album, Still Life on Fire, on June 30th. At a time where it's cool to be mellow, folky, shoegazy, and minimalist, Mise is not afraid to rock really hard. When writing this record, the band emphasized discovering how to express themselves as musicians. This is what band co-founder Stephanie Blondell Johnson said of the process. With songwriting, inspiration comes to you and you have to articulate that emotion and that feeling. We are trying to crack the code of what we're trying to say. That emphasis resulted in an honest album with relatable lyrics and a whole lot of energy. If you're looking for an album to get you pumped, Still Life on Fire is definitely for you. I'd recommend starting with the song that kicks off the record, Closer. Next we have an album that's definitely in my top 3 of the year, and it is a self-titled release by the band Cigarettes After Sex, released June 9th on Partisan Records. It's the debut LP by the New York-based group, and all I can really say is, wow. The sound on this album is far from unique or groundbreaking. Ambient music created by reverb-drenched guitar riffs, simplistic bass lines, minimalistic drumming, just the right amount of synth, and nearly whispered, hauntingly beautiful vocals can describe a lot of bands out there right now. It's just that Cigarettes After Sex seems to do it better than almost everyone. But the mastery of their sound isn't what makes this album special for me. That would be Greg Gonzalez's hard-on-his-sleeve approach to writing lyrics. He doesn't try to be clever, he doesn't try to be deep, he just tries and succeeds at being uncomfortably vulnerable, honest, and to some of us, relatable. The songs on this record paint vivid memories so clearly that they feel as if they've become my own. It's that ability to connect with me on such a deep level that has made Cigarettes After Sex one of my top releases of 2017. There's so many great tracks on this album, but if I could only recommend one, it would be the song K. So that was 10 great records released in June of 2017. there's anything I missed that I should be listening to, make sure to leave it in the comments below. Check it out. And if you want to listen to any of the songs I mentioned, there are going to be links in the description to a playlist for Vivity and a playlist for Spotify, as well as some social media links in case you want to follow me on there. Again, thanks for checking out the video. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next one.